I feel like I've hardly beaten any games this year, making my pickings for the top games all the more slim, and now I have a baby, I'm sure future years are going to be so much worse for it. Though apparently the last 2 years I didn't even bother to do this kind of video. Not that I haven't already mentioned elsewhere what my favourite games from this year are, but we'll start with a couple of shoutouts. AI The Somnium Files Nirvana Initiative is something I was super looking forward to, and then had to wait another 2-week delay for the PAL release, on top of delayed shipping for my collector's edition, so I ended up just playing it on PC while waiting. I feel like I would rate it basically the same as the first game, and because this was a sequel rather than being a brand new thing to me like the first game was, I wasn't as blown away. I really failed a lot more in this game. It felt like there was less intuition and sometimes it was more random, especially when it was like the picking the skulls section. Thankfully the part that went full on like a puzzle game actually let me just bypass a bunch of that, because how dare my puzzle-ish visual novel have those in them. I also finally finished Persona 5 Royal on the Switch port, which I bought as a about to have a kid treat to myself despite owning the PS4 version and then not really playing it. My husband played it last year, so I kind of knew about most of the Royal part of the story and wasn't super into it. Personally, I think the original ending is fitting enough, but I did really like a lot of the changes made to the gameplay. But there's really no reason to play the original version unless you got it for super cheap. I also liked having the costumes this time because I played the original on PS3 with an American disc and bought the DLC from the Australian store, meaning it wasn't compatible. If for some reason you haven't played Persona 5 Royal, the time is now. While we're talking about games I've barely touched or are maybe even 20 hours into, there's Triangle Strategy, which I'm sure would be a top rate. Yet despite being so excited and exhausting the demos, when the game released I just didn't feel like it, and then lent my copy for a while. It seems that the rest of the Thirsty Mage podcast crew are interested in doing an episode on this, so I will get to it sooner than some other games. As it seems if you're only doing one route and not retrying matches for various things, it isn't actually that long. I loved River City Girls, but my copy of the sequel didn't get here until the 20th, and I'm playing it solely in co-op, so it'll be quite a while till I'm done with it. But again, I'm sure it would have made the top picks. I was playing through Harvestella a month after it released, and I'm at least 20 something hours in. I definitely don't think it'd be rated high in terms of reviewing scores, but I'm really enjoying the boss fights and character stories. Though I may have stopped playing it to start Pokemon that I got around Christmas for really cheap. Finally, the actual games of the year, my picks of which you may already know about. Live Alive, Game of the Year 2022. I didn't know about this game before the remake's announcement in a Nintendo Direct. Not that shocking since it was a Japan exclusive until then, but I was super interested in the premise of various stories throughout different periods of time, then somehow coming together. It's a great RPG that shakes up the gameplay here and there, with some stories taking just half an hour, being primarily 1v1 fights, versus the Edo Japan chapter being one of the longest, having the option for stealth, which I of course neglected. The combat is this grid-based system which looks active time but isn't really, rather instead only progressing when you move. Plus the HD 2D look makes a lot of things really pop and the soundtrack is a banger. I reviewed this for RPG Site and gave it an 8 out of 10. Most of the time playing it I was having an absolute blast and only really brought it down because the story kind of fell a tiny bit flat at the end. But of course, like I said, some of the characters can't actually talk, so I couldn't expect too much from the final chapter. There is a demo and the game's not actually that long, roughly 20 hours, so I definitely recommend it. Finally, the top game of the year, that when I beat it, I had to see if it got any perfect ratings, despite myself not being the type of person to give one, is Kirby and the Forgotten Land, Kirby's first proper 3D adventure. This came out earlier in the year, but I didn't touch most of it until after my baby was born, actually being the first game I beat after that event. So not only did I get to enjoy a co-op adventure with stunning visuals, super fun level design and gameplay, but it helped me feel a bit more normal after my world changed. Though the co-op got a bit better after the first boss fight because the tethering system doesn't really work well with that one. I loved being able to upgrade abilities, the mouthful mode, trying to find all the secrets and hidden waddle-dees. It's a really great time, though I don't think I'll be going through the hardcore post-game anytime soon. Make sure to let me know what glaring omissions I made and what I need to play after I clear out some of the upcoming podcast episode games, along with getting back into Harvestella, not to mention the sheer amount of games releasing in the next 2 months, and I'll see you next time to talk about exactly that. Bye!